Put Me in Coaching family. I hope everyone's having a fantastic weekend. As we close out August, we have 1 week left in August. So we're going to talk about how are we handling resistance versus resilience, right? And what I mean by that is when we have obstacles put in place, are we being resilient to those obstacles, or are we being resistant to the progress that overcoming those obstacles will allow us to make? So, when we think about that in terms of our nutrition, our fitness, health in general, we have to get in the mindset that we have to build that resilience muscle, because it is so easy to start making excuses, to start figuring out, hey, why am I not getting this? Is it okay if I don't reach this goal? And we start to naturally become resistant because it's comfortable. It's easier to be resistant because we naturally resist change. And so you have to work that resilience muscle if you want to see that true behavior change. So think of it in terms of the what we eat, what we think, and what we do, the three pillars. And that's what we base all of our decisions around. When we apply the 7-step signature system, we're applying it to the what we eat, what we think, and what we do. And so, where are there areas of opportunity to build the resilience muscle? And how do you build it? You have to keep showing up. And I thought about this today when I was doing my weightlifting. And my coach always says the weights don't care what you have going on outside of the gym. And as I take that, and he's not being mean when he says that, he's saying when you show up to the gym, you've got to be so focused that anything going on outside of the gym doesn't matter if you want to have your best performance. And he says, I realize not every day is going to be your best. And you can translate that to our system. You're not going to be perfect every day. There are going to be days where things get in the way and we allow ourselves to make excuses, or we just quite simply allow the circumstances that we're put in to dictate what the outcome is. But when we're conscious of it, we can activate the resilience muscle to really practice that change. It would have been very easy for me to say, hey, I'm not going to the gym today. I've had a long week. I'm tired. I don't want to go. As a matter of fact, absolutely said that, right? I just said, I don't really want to go, but I'm going because I've practiced that resilience muscle in the resist going to the gym, right? So it's become a habit. And when I got there, it was great. I had a good workout. Was it my best ever? No. But I was really able to channel, hey, I've got to focus for this hour and a half that I'm here. And I can't let the outside distractions get in the way. I've got a lot of exciting things going on. And at the end of the day, the weights don't care about that. The weights don't allow for outside distractions to allow you to make excuses and still make progress. And it's the exact same way when we talk about our nutrition. It doesn't matter that you had a hard day. If you eat the sugar, you eat the sugar. It doesn't matter that you're stressed out, right? If you eat off plan, you're eating off plan. It's not going to serve you in the long run. And that's why it's so important to continue to develop that resilience muscle. And how do we develop the resilience muscle? We do the things we don't want to do and we practice it. So then it becomes easier to say no, thank you. there's a saying, and we talk about discipline, right? Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. So you've got to exercise the discipline muscle. But then the more you exercise the discipline muscle, the more you're building that resilience muscle. So it doesn't matter what happens. You're able to easily navigate so that you can continue to show up for yourself, and you say, hey, it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter what happens. I'm going to show up because I have that resilience muscle built. And there's another saying that discipline, and I'm probably going to mess this up, but discipline is doing the things you don't want to do long after you said that. And I'm going to look this up because I want to get it right. But commitment is doing the thing you said you were going to do long after the mood you set it in has left you. That's what I was looking for. So that discipline allows you to create that commitment. And that's where commitment and discipline take over for motivation, because you're not going to be motivated 100% of the time. You're just simply not. I was not motivated to go to the gym this morning. I was very motivated, in fact, to stay in bed. I got a lot of sleep last night, and that hasn't happened much because I got a lot of projects that I'm working on that's requiring a little bit less sleep right now. Doesn't mean I'm not taking care of myself as far as sleep goes. I still get sleep and I sleep well, but I've gotten less sleep than I probably should because of the things that I'm doing, right? And that's because I'm committed to what I'm doing. I'm committed to the projects I'm working on. And again, I'm committed to the gym. So I showed up anyway. I did it anyway. Right? I didn't feel like it, but I did it anyway. And so that's when you talk about activating that resilience muscle, you're going to need to lean on that from time to time. When you first get started with something, that is where your excitement is the most. When we first get started on a new project, whether that new project is nutrition, fitness, business, whatever, the first 24 to 48 hours, you are gung ho. And then you've got to have developed a little bit of resilience, and you're not going to have a lot of resilience by then, but you're going to have developed some resilience. You're going to have developed some commitment and some discipline, so that on day 3, 4, 5, 6, month 2, 3, 4, that mood that you said you wanted to make that change in is going to be gone. And so you have to have that commitment. You've got to be so laser focused that it doesn't matter what happens on the outside. You just keep it moving. And that's exactly when I started my journey. I became so committed, and it didn't matter what happened. Great, I've got an event to go to. I'll eat in the car before I get there and then do the event, and I'll have food in the car for when I'm done. It was simple. It wasn't easy, but it was simple. It just required a little bit of planning, like anything that is worth doing. It's going to take a little bit of hard work. But you've got the system in place, so it's simplified it. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but it is simple. And that's how you build that resilience muscle. You plan ahead so that it's easier to activate that resilience muscle, because you know exactly what you're going to do instead when you say no to something. No, thank you to this. I've already got a plan. So planning ahead allows your resilience muscle to work faster, because you don't have to think about, well, what's the alternative? You don't need an alternative. You've got a plan. Whatever someone's asking you to do is the alternative, and you're not deviating from your plan. Yeah, I can go and sit with you, but I've got my food already. Right? Yes, I can go and sit with you, but guess what? I was planning on eating chicken and vegetables, so they've got chicken and vegetables on the menu. Great, that's what I'm going to have. Simple little tweaks like that, they go a long way. And that is how we continue to activate that resilience muscle and not let the resistance take over that's going to drive you back to your old habits, right? That resistance is your ego setting in saying, hey, it's okay. You can make excuses. And we resist because the outcome is unknown. And the reason we resist when an outcome is unknown, because if you knew that if you ate X, Y, and Z for 30 days straight, you would weigh X, Y, and Z pounds, you would do it. Right? Same thing in business. If you knew that if you talk to 100 people and everybody at the end of that 100 people, if you talk to them, you are going to make an extra $2,000, how quickly would you talk to those 100 people? Right? If you knew that all you had to do was work out once a day, 5 days a week, and eat X, Y, and Z, and at the end of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever, if you were consistent, then you were guaranteed to have this exact outcome. Well, of course you would do it. How quickly would you do it? How quickly would you get that 90 days out of the way? But unfortunately, that's not how it works. We can only control our efforts. We can't control what the outcome is. And so we're so used to maybe not necessarily getting the exact outcome we want. So that's where the resistance starts creeping in. Because we say, well, what if I don't get that outcome? Well, who cares? Are you going to be better off because you did it? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then it's worth doing. If you're not going to be better off, then maybe it's not worth doing. But would you agree that if you ate on plan, you did your exercise goals, you met your water goals, and you did your scripting for 30 days straight, you would be in a better place than you are now 30 days from now? Yes. So it's worth doing. But because we don't know the exact outcome, we build up that resistance. It's exactly like on our job. We are told that we are going to make X amount for working X amount of hours. Great. We're much more likely to do it. Right? We show up because it's predictable. But when the outcome isn't predictable, that's where your ego and your resistance starts to kick in, because it's just trying to protect you. Especially if you've ever not reached a goal that you've set for yourself in the past. The resistance muscle starts to say, well, if you don't do it, it's okay because you had this going on, and you've got a lot going on. Guess what? The outcomes don't care about the excuses, right? Your goals don't care about your excuses. And that's what I have to continue to remind myself of. My goals don't care about my excuses. My goals don't care how stressful of a day I had, right? My goals are going to be based on my efforts, or my outcomes are going to be based on my efforts, right? I can't control the outcome, but I can control my efforts towards the outcome. And if at the end of the day, I can say, hey, I stayed on track and I met my goals. That's why your goals should be effort oriented, not outcome oriented. You can have a goal that's outcome oriented, but then you need to have goals within that are effort oriented so that you can easily track, am I meeting my goals? And then guess what? If you get to that outcome goal date and you haven't met it, you're that much closer to it. And you can look back and say, I'm proud of myself and I'm going to celebrate these wins. Step 6. I'm celebrating the wins because I controlled my efforts and my efforts are going to lead to the outcome I want. It just maybe didn't happen quite as fast, or maybe it happened faster, right? We don't know. We can't control the outcome. We can only control our efforts. And so when we create effort based goals, we're able to build that resilience muscle a lot quicker because we're looking to those goals. Hey, am I meeting this goal? Have I done this? Have I done that? Yes. So I'm meeting my effort goals. Maybe I haven't quite met my outcome goal yet, but I'm meeting my effort goals. So I'm building and strengthening that resilience, and I'm weakening the resistance. Okay, that goes back to the good habits versus the bad habits. The bad habit is resistance. We continue to resist, we continue to make excuses, we're going to go on a negative path. But if we continue to make positive choices and continue to build that resilience muscle, we are going to go on a path to success. Okay, so what I want you to do this week, I want you to really identify what are your effort goals that you are going to put in place to start building your resilience muscle up. Really think about that, okay? And think of one goal, one effort goal in the what you eat, what you think, and what you do area. What is one effort goal you can track this week that is going to move you toward your goal? All right, you can post it in the comments, you can text it to me. Whichever you choose, get those goals out there, write them down, and measure your progress toward your efforts. And I promise you that resilience muscle will start to build up, and you're going to start weakening that resistance muscle. And it's going to be harder and harder for someone to derail you and get you off track. All right. So I will see you back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. In the meantime, I will talk with you on text message if you're in a coaching program. If you are not in a coaching program and you are thinking you need some extra accountability, please reach out and I will be happy to talk to you about what makes the most sense for you. But until then, I will see you on text message, on your coaching calls, and I'll see you back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. Have a great week, everyone.